everyone. I'm Dr. Melanie Barham, and I'm joined today by Dr. Meredith Jones. I'm so excited to have you here. Where I am, it's storming and horrible and rainy, but Meredith is just like, I'm just super excited to have her here. It's going to be, I just feel like it's a ray of sunshine to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking tonight all about finances, why it's important to get your finances in order. We're going to be talking about Meredith's career path because she's a general practitioner, but she's also started this really neat endeavor, this entrepreneurial endeavor, and she has an upcoming conference that she's going to tell us about. And so yeah, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much. So Meredith, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Meredith Jones, as she said, and I'm an emergency vet in the Richmond, Virginia area. And so my career path, so after vet school, I did an internship that was actually at a couple of VCA hospitals in Connecticut. And so while I was doing that internship, I actually went into it thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna actually be an internist, and actually applied for residencies that year. That was 2008, 2009, and a lot of the residency programs that were out there got dropped. And so ended up deciding at the same time as I was going through my internship that I really liked doing emergency work. And so decided that I wanted to pursue that after my internship. And so I've actually worked at, I'm unusual because I've worked at the same hospital for 11 years at this point. And so I definitely love working in the emergency specialty setting because I really feel like it's an environment where I can offer the very best for my patients. And it's also, I can also have a more, to some extent, more flexible schedule. I like to kind of bulk up my hours where there are weeks where I work a lot, and then there are weeks where I don't work as much, and then I can focus on other things. And so as far as getting into personal finance, while I was paying off my student debt, I started just reading everything that I could about personal finance and listening to a lot of podcasts and that sort of thing, and just learned everything that I could about it and became sort of a money nerd. And so when I got serious about it, I paid off my student debt in about 3.5 years, which since I graduated in 2008, it was my student debt was less than some of the newer graduates these days, but was able to pay it off in a pretty short period of time. And so then I decided to take a financial coaching course. And then last year I met Phil Zeltzman at the Uncharted conference, and we decided to get together and start an online community and the Vet Financial Summit.
Awesome. That's cool. So I bet that, yeah, wow, that's a pretty big year. That's cool. Yeah. So what made you, I mean, you had a success story of being, of paying off your debt super fast, which is really amazing. Can you tell us how you did that? Mm-hmm. What's your secret sauce?
Well, let's see. So we did a few different things. I mean, I'm married, and so we did have a dual income, and so certainly that was helpful. And really just we cut a lot from our budget, but we didn't really we didn't sacrifice and live in a box, and so we still were going on vacations. We were just modest about the way that we did the things that we enjoyed like that, but we did make some cuts and sold some things, and actually went down to one car for a little while, and so we did some things that other people wouldn't necessarily do, and we also really every extra dollar that we could pull from raises or bonuses or anything else, we put that directly toward the debt, and kept a really close eye on our budget during that time period.
Awesome. Cool. And then, so you decided to start this Veterinary Financial Summit. So tell me a bit about that and tell me why you decided to start it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I should back up a little bit because I haven't mentioned the Debt Free Vets group yet. And so the year that I took the financial coaching course, that was back in 2016. And so that was the same year that the Fix the Debt Summit happened. That was a year that there were a lot of articles and there was a lot of discussion out there about how student debt is becoming a big problem in the profession and about finances in general being a problem in our profession. And so I had decided to take the financial coaching course, and then I started the Facebook group, which has really grown quite a bit, especially over the last year. And through that, I started to become more interested in speaking. And so I was invited to speak at the AVMA conference last year. And that was the first time I had spoken anywhere, actually, and had a couple of other speaking opportunities. And so with that, I decided, well, earlier in the year before those speaking engagements, I thought, well, let me get into some sort of a group where there are other people doing that sort of thing. And so I decided to go to the Uncharted conference last year, which is put on by Dr. Andy Rourke, who is just amazing. And so I met a lot of exceptional people there, and Phil Zeltzman was one of the people who I met. And we had exchanged some emails beforehand and actually discovered that we both have a passion for personal finance. And so we're both money nerds. And so we started having discussions about how can we help our colleagues? What can we do? What can we put together? And after the conference, continued talking and decided to start the Vet Financial Summit, which is going to be September 26th and 27th. So it's over a weekend. It's happening in about 3 weeks from now. And so it is a personal finance and practice finance conference. It's the first veterinary conference that's been solely dedicated to those subjects. And so, and in addition to that, we have an online community. So everyone who signs up for the conference is put into the online community. And we have, because the idea is that we don't want it to be something that once you're done with the summit, you're done, and then you don't ever see those people or interact with those people again. We want it to actually be a continued thing where people can help each other and support each other as they're pursuing their financial goals. And so the online community is, we have discussion groups, and we have monthly interviews with financial experts and practice management experts.
Super cool. And first of all, so amazing and super big congratulations for putting on a summit this year, like a big conference this year. I know exactly firsthand how hard it is and how busy it is to get one done. And so cool that this is the first like specific conference that's just talking about personal finance, and such a needed topic. That's really cool. And one of the reasons I was really drawn to have you on the DVM project is because I really feel passionately that you can't really, a lot of people will say, oh, I want to change my career, but I'm so stuck in debt, or I can't do that because I don't have the money to go back to school, don't have the money to relocate, I don't have the financial freedom to do XYZ, or I couldn't possibly I really want to do this big dream, but I don't have the money to do that. So I felt like it was just such a natural fit to have you on here. And I've loved being part of your free Facebook group. The discussions that are on there are great. And it kind of inspires me to mind my pennies as well. Instead of I would probably prefer to spend money instead of save it. So.
Yeah, we've got a lot of real savers in the group, and so they keep everybody inspired. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. What's been the most surprising thing that you found from starting it and being part of the group?
Well, It's great, and it actually has far surpassed my expectations of because I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a group where it's a safe place for vets to have these discussions, because they really weren't talking. There wasn't a place where vets could talk to each other about money and be comfortable, and so I wanted to create that. And it's really the growth has surprised me, because I remember talking to Phil, and this would be I guess about a year and a half ago, when we had one of the first conversations about the summit, and I said we've got over 1,000 members, and now we have 6,000 members. And so it's just it's been great that people have been so willing to share it and have been so willing to participate.
Yeah, super. So as far as so we talked a little bit about why the summit's unique. Why do you think this would be the year that people should definitely come, as opposed to, like, oh, maybe I'll get it next time or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so one thing that is really different about our conference, because of course everyone's going virtual this year, but all of our sessions are going to be live. So it's 100% live. All the speakers are going to be there live to answer your questions and to really interact with the participants. And we've got a lot of different formats. So it's not going to be something where you're listening to a bunch of boring PowerPoints the whole time, and that's the whole thing. It's going to be where we've got panel discussions, and we've got interactive workshops where you're going to be divided into small groups, and you'll be able to have discussions and actually solve problems that you can bring back to your personal finance, or bring back to your practice and actually go ahead and use. And then the other thing, because we've got the online community included with the registration for the conference, you've got it's something that's going to actually continue afterward. And we are, with the conference, we're going to have accountability groups. And so we're going to divide people into smaller groups where they can actually design their own financial plan during the conference, and then help to hold each other accountable afterward.
Oh, I love that. So this is not just something where you're just going to sit and watch stuff. So you're right. This is going to be like, you're going to have to actually do some work when you're in there and make some change. That is good. Yeah, that is good. I love it. Really good, especially with finances too, because you can listen to an idea, but then actually, I know from taking accounting courses in my MBA, it's so much different to actually sit down with the numbers and try and apply it to a real life problem, right? As opposed to looking at a case study or somebody glosses over the details. Yeah, that's huge. Awesome. And then, so yeah, I guess, let me just think here. What advice would you have to others who are not sure of their next step in their careers? Because one thing that I really feel like is super cool about your story, Meredith, is that you thought, oh, I'm kind of interested in personal finance, and that's not something that there's not a whole bunch of people doing that. So, how did you have the courage to go ahead and just reach out and decide to do this conference and, jump into this stuff? And do you have any advice for other people who might have an idea that they might think might be hiding their little idea under a bush, so to speak?
Yeah, so no matter what idea you have, there's going to be someone out there who has a similar interest. And so it's a matter of really not only pursuing your interest, but then also finding other folks who are interested in the same subject. And so I was surprised once I really looked into it to find other vets who were really passionate about personal finance. You may know Grace Kim, who has the Richer Life DVM blog, and so we actually got together and we did those AVMA lectures together last year, or was it? Yeah, last year. And so it's something that if you're looking, whether it's inside the profession or outside the profession, there's always going to be, if you look hard enough, there's going to be someone out there who has a similar interest, and it's just really having the courage to take that next step. And if you're out there and you're thinking, gosh, I don't know if I'm ready to take that step, I would highly encourage you to just put yourself out there. And then the other thing would be trying to find within veterinary medicine, there are some groups of people who are interested in business. And so whether it's the Uncharted group, whether it's reaching out to vet partners, which you really probably already need to have something that you've started to get going to work with vet partners, but there are some organizations out there too that you can insert yourself into to actually get some of these discussions going and meet some like-minded people.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And if I'm going to just throw it out there to people, if they have any questions, feel free to ask. And because I'm going to just keep asking you questions because I could ask you all night. So how can people find out more about the conference, and how can they join the free Facebook group? Where can they find everything about, and is there anything else that they should know as far as the conference and as far as finding out more information?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you can go to vetfinancialsummit.com. And so we've got the full agenda up. We've got our speaker list. We've got some outstanding speakers. Our Danny McVitie's actually going to do our keynote presentation on the very first day. We've got Dave Nickel and Denise Tumblin, Bash Hallow, and we've got about 25 amazing speakers and panelists. So there's quite a lot to choose from. And we are, as far as topics, so we've talked about personal finance, practice finance. We're going to have talks on student debt, investing, retirement, insurance, and then also practice management topics, and really diving into the financial aspect of practice management and practice ownership as well. We're also going to talk about entrepreneurship and how to make more money in a non-clinical setting and do it ethically. And so there's going to be quite a bit. So there's going to be something for everybody. And so, yeah, so it's vetfinancialsummit.com. The dates are September 26th, 27th. So it's coming up very, very soon. And then for the Debt-Free Vets Facebook group, we can certainly put the URL into the chat or into the show notes. And so, but if you just go to Facebook and search for Debt-Free Vets, you'll find it there.
Amazing. Okay, that is just super. And yeah, I guess that was all my questions. Let me just check in Canvas one more time for any other questions in our group. All right. Oh, I always get messages from other people. So Meredith, there's a question, like a DM question that I got from someone wanting to know. Okay, so they're pretty deep into debt, and they want to know what they can do, if there's any quick tips that you could give them just off the cuff.
Yeah, I mean, off the cuff, if it's student debt specifically, then one thing to know is that regardless of how much student debt you have, there's going to be a plan for you. And so in the US in particular, the government has the forgiveness plans. And so depending on what your debt to income ratio is, even if you are deep into debt, if it's student debt and if it's federal student debt, then really you don't have to pay all of it off if you are in the US and you take advantage of those plans. And one thing that's hard about student debt is that there's really no one size fits all plan. And so there are folks who really should be paying it off in a short period of time because it works out, the math works out that way. There are also people who would probably be better off taking advantage of the forgiveness plans, or that may be literally the only option, given what vets make, and if they're not going to be in a practice ownership situation and don't have that as part of their career plan. So it depends. Now, if we're talking about consumer debt, so if we're talking about a whole other thing, if we're talking about not student debt at all, but we're talking about car debt and credit card debt and other types of debt like that, then certainly quite a few tips. And so budgeting and having making sure that as you're paying it off, you have an emergency fund, so that you're not actually getting just deeper and deeper into debt if something comes up as you're trying to pay it off. When I paid off my student debt, I used the debt snowball method. And so that's where you take all of your debts and you list them smallest to largest, and you pay off the smallest debt first. And then once you pay that off, you roll the payment you were paying into the first debt into the second debt. And so it's actually got a snowball effect where you're paying off one debt and taking that money and putting it toward the second debt, that sort of thing, and then putting all the extra money that you have toward your debt in general. There's another one that's similar called the debt avalanche, where it's actually based on the interest rate rather than the amount that you owe. And so that one actually works out a little bit better mathematically, but you don't always get the quick wins that you get with the debt snowball. So that's just a quick overview.
I like it. And I feel that's very Canadian to bring up those, because it's very snow related. So thank you. It's made me feel very comfortable. Good. Awesome. So that person said, thank you very much. And then another person had a question, another DM question, and they wanted to know about, they just feel very overwhelmed. They love the tips, but they just wondered, they feel very overwhelmed. So do you have any tips for kind of like getting through that overwhelm time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for overwhelm, for personal finance in general, the recipe for overwhelm is education. And so the more that you know, and the more that you and so there's a couple of different ways to look at that. One is, how much do you know about where your money is going? And so that's one way when you're overwhelmed to take control of your finances, is to figure out where is all that money going. And yeah, I mean, everybody who looks at their budget closely for the first time, or the first time in a while, there's going to be some emotions about that. But once you take a look at that, you can see, okay, well, there are some changes that I could probably be making in my budget. So most of us are probably spending too much getting takeout these days, or there are things that you might be able to adjust, or you might take a look at it and say, no, there's not anything I can adjust, and then maybe I need to figure out how to increase my income, which is a whole other subject. And so that's one side of it. The other thing is education. And so, yeah, you want to learn as much as you can about where your money is going so you can make changes. But then also education at the same time. So start with reading a basic personal finance book and getting some of the tenets. And so one that I really like is called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which is by Ramit Sethi. And so that one is excellent because he looks at money from a different perspective than some. So it's not just reducing and cutting corners and being a penny pincher all the time. It's actually taking your life and taking a closer look at it and saying, okay, well, what are the things that are really important to me? I'm going to spend more money on those. The things that are not so important to me, I'm going to spend less money on those things. And so that's part of the book. Another part of the book is just getting your finances automated so that you're actually saving so that you can retire before you're 90.
Nice. I like that. Well, first of all, I love the title of the book. And then I also really enjoy the, that premise sounds really great too. And for anybody who didn't watch, if you were a ticket holder for the Global Vet Career Summit, Meredith did a really awesome talk about automating your finances. It was one of our Career 101s. It was excellent. So if you haven't seen it, then please go watch it. And we're going to be doing, Meredith has very, very generously offered a free ticket to the Vet Financial Summit. So I'm going to be posting about that tomorrow. And we're going to be, we're going to have a contest. So I'll announce everything tomorrow, and you get, and also she's going to also extend a discount code to our group members, which is super amazing. So thank you so much for that. Meredith,
Sure.
I just want to thank you for your time. And if there's, is there anything else you wanted to share with the group?
I think, gosh, we've covered a lot of ground. So, yeah. So the other thing, because I know some folks are out there, really worried about their student debt. One, there's a plan for everybody. Two, we're all going to be debt free someday. And so some folks feel like it's going to be something where they're in debt forever. You're not going to be in debt forever. Even if you are going for a forgiveness plan and it takes 20 to 25 years to get out of debt, you're going to be out of debt someday. And so that's another thing to keep in mind. And there are some really good student debt consultants out there. And so for folks that are really feeling lost, I highly encourage you to check those out.
Awesome. Thank you again, Meredith, and check out vetfinancialsummit.com. And again, kudos to you for putting this event on. It's such a wonderful service to the profession, and I'm so glad to have had you as a guest. So thanks again, Meredith.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.